Um, Now I sound more like an angel. As everybody knows, we're trying to set up an arrangement with Hearthway, formerly Berkshire Housing Development Corporation, which will end up with us having just this floor, what we call the first floor. And consequently, we looked at a number of alternatives about how do we rearrange the space there to use it effectively. And my better half was good enough to say, we came up with 13 alternatives. We tried to slice it and dice it everywhere. And this is what we ended up with. And we also talked to some members of the congregation to try to get some input. What do we need? What don't we need? What does the music program need? What do we need for German dinner? What do we need for coffee hour? So on and so forth. So we've ended up with this layout and we're going to show you the lower half. It's not a secret. The offices, right, the way we laid this out, are going to stay on this side, which is why we don't see them yet. And the big reason for that is some dimensions, in my opinion. Up here, this is about 20 feet, which is not the best size for an office. It's 13 feet on the other side, which is more office size. So in a way, that kind of drove us to this solution. We are losing that area to the elevator, and then our side will be here. This door will be locked to separate us from the apartments and the resource center.
Where's the sanctuary?
Sanctuary is up. This is the organ, all the pipes there, and this is the platform, and the sanctuary is over here. So the only real areas that are getting touched during our work are going to be what I think is the 1960s addition to the church and some minor stuff in the basement. You had your hand up, or were you just scratching your head? Okay. So right now, the administration kind of occupies this area and this, but there's a lot of space in there. And so we have said we can use that area for our administrative area and be more efficient in terms of desks and counters and whatnot. There'll be also some space out here which we're talking about using for lockers or storage cabinets for some of our renters, like the Boy Scouts or Symphonia or whatnot. Then there is some space for storage here for us, and that's coming out of Pastor's office, or most of it. Pastor's office, right now, the wall's about here. And then Pastor's office would be a little smaller, but still, we thought, a good-sized office. Right now, here we have, I guess it's called a vestry or a sacristy. And since this door is going to be now at the area for the access for the apartments and whatnot, we're closing it off. And we're talking about opening a door here, right where that radiator is, basically, to be able to walk through and get up to the offices.
So the pocket door goes away, and a new door will be situated right around the corner from it to get us into the former sacristy space. That'll be our passageway to the back area with the passage.
Now,
Can you point using this room as reference to where the pastor's office is?
it's that corner of the building, that back right corner from where we sit.
Maybe we should do a tour after.
Okay.
Walk through after.
anyone is confused by looking at the plan, then when we're done here, we'll take a quick walkthrough and we'll describe what some of these changes look like for just a few minute little walkabout.
So they're calling, the architect, for want of a better word, called this vesting because that's what it's been. In reality, they're taking some space for some ducts and piping that's got to go up and down. This is really going to be more of a hallway than anything, a passageway to get from the sanctuary back out to the hallway. There will also be a small janitor's closet. We're going to cut that in half so that the janitor's closet is currently here, so we're just moving it over here. And try and maybe give them a little bit more space, and hopefully space that we can organize a little better. Parlor stays the same, except that we're going to add a cabinet, a counter cabinet here, and probably a sink, so that if somebody's using it for coffee service or something, and it'd be a little sink, it wouldn't be a big sink. They have a way to kind of clean up after themselves. Can we slide down a little? Now this is where bigger changes are happening. And as I said, because particularly from here to here is a bigger dimension, it's more useful in terms of meeting rooms and storage, or this multi-purpose room, which is going to be heavily committed to music too. But let's start here at the kitchen. I got a lot of ladies here, so I got to at least pay attention a little bit.
I like kitchens too, Jim.
The kitchen, basically we're going to knock the left wall down of our little galley type thing and expand it to about 11 feet. So all of this will be the kitchen, and we'll have counters and equipment and whatnot in a U shape here. And Donna will fill us in a second on at least what she's been thinking about, what I should say we, because she's driving that thinking, about what equipment's going to be in there, but we believe it's going to be reasonably completely stocked in terms of running a kitchen.
Jim, is there a window in that kitchen too?
Yes, there is. Right here.
Let there be light in that kitchen.
Yeah. And
see, that's what they really want to hear.
And there's going to be, thank you. There's going to be a number of sinks too, so we all don't have to crowd around the same sink. Then this multi-purpose room is, we're carving that out of the storage room and a little bit of the meeting room over here. We're including a large closet there because we're saying we're going to recommend that the tables that hold the bells be changed to carts, you know, like a service cart. And this is big enough where you can push them in like this, and then we can lock the door on them in case this room gets used for something else. And since the cart typically has a shelf underneath, you can store bells and other stuff right underneath each cart. That's our thinking, and we have, I don't see Amy, but we have talked with Amy about it, and so far she's sounding positive. Then we're having a meeting room here, and this is also going to be like a bifold door, but a nice new one. So either it could be a small meeting room, or we could have a larger room for if the choir gets big, or if there's the choir and the bells have to rehearse together, there's a place to do it. Or if there's a big meeting, we can use it the other way. And then this becomes our storage. Right now we have storage here, and we have storage there. Yeah, well, the couple of steps are right there. You're right, it's right at our back door to the
Barbara,
sanctuary
it's what we call the Boy Scout storage room, which actually has storage for multiple organizations. So taking that room, breaking the wall out, or remove it's as a divider, so it just sort of creeps into the other side, and for a much larger storage for tables and things.
So we're trying to keep the materials we use regularly, like tables, or at least enough tables, and extra chairs and everything else. We're trying to keep them up there near that door so that it's easy to pull them out and put them back.
Yep, they can come right from storage, right through across the hallway onto the platform for use here in the common room.
So the other thing we're saying is we have to do better about storing our stuff. You walk in there and there's just kind of stuff thrown everywhere. And as I say, we don't use the vertical space real well, so we may be storing some of the things we use twice a year up closer to the ceiling, and the stuff we use every day or every week will be on the floor so we can get at it. Part of the reason this works out better, when we tried to put offices here, you see this little, I'm going to call it a dead space. It's just an entry to get into this room if it's closed off. If we had tried to put offices in here, we end up with a lot more dead space. So this was the compromise we made, or the trade-off. And that became part of our issue as we were going through it. If we take a foot of this room to give it to this, they lose. If we give more to them, then they lose. So there's always a trade-off, and you have to do the best you can, and this is what we've decided. Now, there could be little adjustments here. My brain has been working overtime at night, and I'm saying, maybe we should put a closet down here, for instance. That's kind of, it's a long, thin meeting room. Be a little bit more space for choir robes or for whatever. So that's a thought. And it's kind of a lost corner of the room.
I just have a question.
Here, Barbara.
Way back. Originally, when we were going to do this, when we did this part, when we were going to do the whole thing, the offices are going to be over there, and one of the reasons is because you're closer to the door.
Correct.
Are we going to have something, if we're on this side, that we can see who's at the door? Because we're still using that door, right?
Yeah, the security system and the cameras, we're going to have some out there.
Okay.
And I believe we're trying to get a remote lock so that if you're in the office, you know, it's like the bank teller, click, let them in.
And you're right, Barb, that's one of the things that we struggled with as we talked about the team. We had over a dozen schemes, layout, floor plans that we were considering. And the big move was, do we take the pastors in the admin office and do we shift it from the south side to the north side so that it would be closer, so you'd be captured as you come up into the building. So that there was a lot of conversation around that.
At one point, we did have a lock over here when we were using this door. And we did have a camera where you could kind of see who was there, and you remote lock. So something like that would be good, as long as you can see
So our
who's there.
future security system does include video monitoring so that we know who's at the door, who's ringing the bell, who needs to be let in. So that's absolutely something we're mindful of.
And it keeps a record for a period, too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we used to have that kind of system where we could see who was at the door on the south side, and it worked for us from a security standpoint. So we're going to reinstitute that. But again, the big decision about this floor plan was, what do we do with the pastor's office? Do we move it to the other corner? and we knew we wanted a kitchen. We wanted a bigger kitchen than the current small kitchenette. So I think a lot of what Jim has described here was driven by those two decisions. So there's been a lot of conversation around this. We think we got it right, but this is your opportunity to sort of tell us what you think.
Yeah, but we have some reluctance too. You know, we're pride of authorship here. So. I've done it. I've done designs, and I know my design is always the best.
I don't know who's first.
You are.
Oh, well, ask your questions.
Yeah, I think you've done a really nice job. I think it leaves us being a fully functioning church. I see all of the spaces that are needed for a fully functioning church. I had wondered about that as you went along, not being a part of this on the outside looking in, but I think the outcome is very nice. Thank you.
And we're trying to leave a little bit of flexibility too, at least in this room.
Lynette?
Have you moved the toilets across the hall? I'm
No.
confused. They're right where they are now, huh? Huh.
The unisex toilet in the ladies' room are right there.
They're not pictured.
They're not pictured. I couldn't figure out what those little things that look like toilets are.
They're over here.
That's the men's room that's directly across from the
Here's the
kitchenette.
stairs,
There's the door to the ladies' room.
okay? So the ladies' room stays as is. The unisex bathroom stays as is.
We'll have access to those two toilets throughout construction.
Sorry. Okay. There were other questions. Helen?
I think it's great you're making the kitchen wider. Right now, if two people are in the kitchen, a third person can't get in.
Correct.
And if somebody's at the sink, you can't get to the back of it. I think
Right.
that's a great idea.
It's the current kitchen is kind of like if you had a camper.
It's really not a kitchen, what we have now, okay? So
3 or 4 people are going to be able
it's going to be. It actually looks small on there, but when I did a layout, which I have actually laid out cabinets, well, I shouldn't say cabinets. We have a warming oven. We have the refrigerator now is going to be used by Roots Rising and us, which saves us money. We'll have a freezer. We will have a double convection oven, like for baking and doing our cooking. We will have, hopefully, a dishwasher so that the ladies who are doing altar guild can use that. Whether it's a commercial one or I'm thinking more we're going to go for a good residential one because they take up the same size. We do have to, there will be 5 sinks in there, I will tell you. 5 sinks. In order to have this be a qualified kitchen for catering, we have to have 3 sinks in one space in a row. They have to be big enough for our catering pans to lay down flat. One is a pre-wash, one is where you wash, the next one is where you sanitize, and then you have dirty and drain racks on each side. That's a must, okay? Whether we have a dishwasher or not, that has to be done. But we will have, trust me, ladies, we will have a dishwasher. We also have to have a hand washing sink and a prep, what they call a food prep sink. So they will be distributed. They're not going to be laid out in this, like right next to one another. And they will not all be the same size. They don't need to be all the same size. The counters will all be stainless steel, and most everything, except for the plumbing part, is going to be mobile. So the warming oven rolls out. It could roll out here for German dinner. There'll be some movable tables so that if you're doing something and you need to have prep space, you can roll the table, the movable counter out.
Or you need two tables, you can pull one over and
Right,
get it for yourself.
where you're working. So we have a good plan. We already had a budget for it, and actually this works pretty well into our original budget. So, but it's not finalized. So, does anybody have any questions? Lynette.
Okay, so is that where the German dinner can be prepared, in this new kitchen?
My hope
No, I'll say
is
no,
that
because
here's that it could be, but
it
it's
could be.
probably not going to be.
It's probably not going to. Our German dinner is a big affair. It's a big occasion. There's a lot happening. The kitchen, which is in the basement, the current commercial kitchen that this congregation has used for decades, will be rehabilitated and will be part of the Housing Resource Center.
Right.
Part of the conversations we've had with Hearthway, we have negotiated the use of that kitchen downstairs, again, which will be brought up to full code and compliance with the 5 sinks probably. It'll probably have this, it'll be a fully approved, accredited kitchen, and we will have use for it for the German dinner. There's going to have to be some scheduling that we're going to work out with Hearthway, but we're going to make this work, and if there are other events that we have, we just have to work with them. But that commercial kitchen will be for our use. But it's not so little, this kitchen here will be great for our everyday use, but it'll be a little bit bigger. Caterers can use it if there's a catered event here at the church. It'll be a hell of a lot better than what we have now. That's for sure.
You're correct.
It is the Margaret Hintz, I'm not going to say memorial kitchen. It is the Margaret Hintz kitchen, and we're going to love it, and you're going to love it too. So what else are you going to see on this first floor? You're going to see lots of other changes. You're going to see new paint. It's going to get painted. There's going to be new lighting. The ceilings are going to have to be replaced because there's a lot of piping and electrical work coming from the second floor down through. So it's going to be brighter. It's going to look new. There's going to be new paint. Presumably, we're going to do something with the hallway.
New windows.
There may be new carpeting, but there's going to be some new flooring because we have to. We're concerned about that. So it's going to look a lot.
Energy efficient windows.
Yeah, that's right. New windows, the same windows that are being installed on the second floor for the apartments. We'll have those same identical windows on our first floor.
And we're looking at different types of systems. Heating, Jim can kind of, I don't know if you want to get into that.
We're talking about a newer kind of system that would both heat and cool. And since we're only doing our floor, it's a smaller system. And Hearthway is going to take care of their areas however they do that. And we have to work that out. Yes, it is.
The janitor's closet's been used here, which is a much bigger closet, and it's in an area that kind of makes sense.
And
It's going to have all of that.
There is plumbing over there.
It's bigger than what our current one
It
is.
also opens directly onto the hall, as opposed to going through the kitchen or wherever. No.
No.
Yvonne, the short answer is no. Yeah. The elevator over here, and that's in part of the office. But then this will more or less stay. Pastor's office will be shrunk a little bit, and we'll carve that storage area out of it.
The white walls are the ones being edited there, is that true?
Yeah, these white walls are being added, Corey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Is that about the size my part of the office is now?
Yeah.
It's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bigger. So again, for everyone's, for clarity, where Ingrid currently sits in that office, that is where the elevator shaft will go. That is now part of the Hearthway layout. This is where Barb sits. This is going to get a little bit bigger, and we're going to have to accommodate Ingrid and Barb in this room. We think that's going to be fine. New furniture, better layout, more organized. We can operate 2 staff people out of this office and the photocopier. Yeah. So again, we talked about storage and
That's our thinking.
storage and decluttering. There's a lot of decluttering that's happening. And as we go through this process, we look at something and we say, does this bring me joy? If it doesn't bring me joy, but we're doing a lot of that. This is our opportunity to clean out, because we have everything pretty much on this first floor needs to find a place to live during construction. There's a couple big items that probably can stay, but for the most part, everything's got to go. And then when it comes back, it'll be more organized, and we'll really decide, do we need this, or how do we store it more efficiently? So I think the last thing we just want to quickly touch on.
Lynette's got a question.
Oh, Lynette has a question.
What is vesting?
Vesting is where pastor puts on his robes, theoretically.
Yes,
But it's really a hallway.
It's really more of a hallway, and we're hoping the wall that they put there is way too long.
Yeah.
We're trying to get them to push it back. Because they're taking some of our space. Our place, we're eliminating some of
They're nibbling away.
They're nibbling away, putting chases in for them to get their plumbing and electrical and stuff like that. And then we're also going to be, Corey has designed a wonderful tech system that will be put in, a temporary one for use, and then a permanent one that he and Jim are working on. And
We're trying to get our heads together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a closet to put, your robes and things in? Where are you going to put those? Because in the storage. Okay, I'm just looking out for you because you need that. Okay, thank you.
We haven't worked out that detail.
So there's a whole component of this floor plan which is obligated to be paid for by Hearthway because of the disruption that they're causing to us. They're putting an elevator shaft in our office. That's disruption.
They're taking space.
They're taking space down here. So, there's some component of the cost of this which Hearthway will pay for. We're working with them to figure out exactly what that is and what their financial obligation is to this first floor work. The other component of the work will be on Zion. Now, there are certain funds that we have as part of this project, lease payments that we will use toward this. So we don't, as a team, we can't tell you right now the breakdown of the money and how it's all exactly going to get paid for to the T, but that's coming. I wish we could have shared that with you today. That was our goal, but things have been in a little bit of a flux just because this is what happens with complicated projects as you near the finish line. Things come up. We are working through those as we speak. But we know we have a desired layout. We have an idea of what the price tag is. We have to continue to negotiate with Hearthway what their portion of the bill is, and then what our portion of the expenses will be, and then how we'll pay for that. So
We also need to negotiate with the contractor a bit.
yeah, and there may be some additional refinement on the design and costs, and Jim and Donna are really taking the lead with that. So The purpose of today was just to show you the layout, let you know that we've worked very hard to get to a place where we think this is going to work for Zion. But there's more to do, and there's more that we'll probably be asking of you, endorsement as we in the next coming weeks. So stay tuned, hang tight.
Yeah.
This is kind of evolving.
I would, go ahead.
Yvonne?
I'm just, the people that are in the building the most, so Pastor and Ingrid and Barb, I'm glad that you're able to have, I don't know how much it means to you, but to have a room that's comfortable for you, because you have to have joy, speaking of joy, when you're in the building. So, you know, that you've got the sun, you've got the nice views out the window, blah, blah, blah. So, to the parking lot that's empty. But my other question, or my question is, with the flooring, I know the building is really solid and you can't hear anything upstairs when you're downstairs and vice versa. Is that going to remain like that? So you're not hearing footsteps and, you know, all the things when you're in the building? Will that all stay?
I'd imagine there'll be some degree of soundproofing and other insulating happening. I think the superstructure of the building won't change. There may be carpeting that's put up, certainly in the apartments and in the hallway. So I think soundproofing is a natural part of a modern construction project where you're building apartments that are attached to an operational, functional space like ours. So I'd imagine that that's something that has been taken into account.
There are only going to be 9 permanent occupants up there. So, yeah, they could have a party, but there aren't nine
Just
renters.
Yep.
So, yeah, they can make noise and... Okay.
Yeah, we still have an audience online.
There's vinyl asbestos tile up there, too, in the hallway. So that's getting ripped out. And we're not 100% sure what they're putting back.
Yep.
It could be more vinyl tile, luxury vinyl tile. It might be carpet. We'll find out.
Yeah. Lay it on.
So the materials that are going to be used, are they going to be environmentally sound so that we're not inhaling toxic gases from the carpeting? And I don't know about all of you, but I'm extremely aware, and we all need to get up on this stuff. There is a lot of chemical and poison stuff in everything, in our upholstery, in our curtains, in our carpeting. Can we use things, and I know it'll bring up the cost, but how can we make it so that the building is not going to kill us in the long run?
I think we can absolutely be mindful of that as we work with our contractor to specify paints and materials and carpeting. We can actually, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. We'll be mindful of that as we're making decisions. Okay, if there's no other questions, any other questions, we can wrap this up, but I want to also welcome you to just a quick tour. If you want to walk around, we'll just look at things for a couple minutes, and then you can get out of here and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. But again, I want to make certain that you are all aware that you can talk with Jim, Donna, myself, Dave Reinhardt, the pastor, at any time on any questions about this, about operations, about what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, how our ministry proceeds during the next year. Yes, and that website as well.
And I'm sure that we're going to be reaching out to members of the congregation as we get, you know, a little more input. If you have it with finishes, there may be stuff for, if you have anything that you want to bring up, just do it. Do it now. You know, do it whenever, sooner rather than later, so we can address all of these. But this, we felt the design really met Zion's needs, it has enough flexibility in it, and Zion's needs for now and into the future. With Sunday school, we've got kids, we've got a place to put kids, we've got a place to have various meetings going on at the same time. And also it increases, if we're renting common room rental, it also gives us a lot of flexibility that way. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. You've been a lovely audience. We'll see you all back here Friday night for the German dinner, 5 o'clock. Thanks, everyone.
I just want to say on the outgassing, I have a daughter and a dog living